soothing music.
Getting loose here.
Getting loose. A little looser than usual. Fancy music, man. Wow, I
can't stop my leg.
I know, man. It's like, look at that thing shaking.
You want to dance? Come on, man.
Sure, man.
Let's boogie.
Shake it, Bill.
Every time I laugh, it shakes, unfortunately.
Yeah. Thank you, TaylorMade Golf, for partnering with us here on Golf Talk Radio. Check out the latest M5, M6 hybrids, drivers, fairway woods, irons, and more at TaylorMadeGolf.com. Today, don't forget the TP5 golf ball and the TP5X and TP5 Pix, P-I-X, TaylorMadeGolf.com.
During the break, we had a pleasure that Owen's father, Darren, called and said he was listening, and a proud dad, as of course he is. It's just these amazing things happening to these Averett brothers. He mentioned that the first Tee Open, which we talked about, that we're going up this weekend at Pebble, Jack won it, as we talked earlier. And out of the 81 kids that played, our own Jack wins it. And so we're like, does anybody realize how great this is? Yeah, Owen zips off to college. He wins he qualifies number one, which is just to me amazing as a true freshman. And you explained to me a true freshman means he's really is a freshman. What's a non-true freshman or an untrue freshman? What would that be?
I think if maybe they, depending on how they transfer in, if they transferred in from another school.
So it could be an experienced player
credits,
already.
Things like that. Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
But he is.
That's what I would think it would mean. But
but anyways, very exciting stuff. So I don't. Did you have something you wanted to? Because I wanted to talk about this Golf Pro Handicap, but we don't need to.
I would love to talk about it.
And I'll give an example. When Darren and I and Owen and Butch went down and played the new Montecito Country Club. Right, it's a brand new Jack Nicklaus design. It's a brand new design. Of course, it's been there forever, but it's been redesigned by Jack Nicklaus, and it reopened. It's amazing. It's the one in Santa Barbara. If you drive by, you see it up on the hill.
Massive.
So you played there with me. Have we played there?
I have never played there.
No.
I never played the original, unfortunately.
You're not the original. You don't. You'd still be putting out there. Yeah. But so as handicaps would go, of course, Butch, who's a member there, who's been there forever. Getting a little older, and he has bad hips and legs and things. He played from the very, very, very front tee, right? The green tee.
Yeah.
Darren and I, we stepped back to the white tee, and Owen goes back to the tips, but it was without giving shots, trying to make it even for everybody.
Right.
And it turned out pretty darn close. I mean, Owen, of course, won by a couple shots, but I played pretty well that day, and so did Owen. And I think Darren, we all did, but it kind of made us somewhat even without giving shots. But there are so much different abilities. So Owen, if he went to one of our golf courses and he went to scratch, he's the example that that's not enough. So that's what we're talking about. So as golf professionals in the industry who work 40, 50 hours a week or more, plus if you do a radio show and you're doing wear four hats like some of us do.
Right.
Our golf games. So somebody asked me if I played, if I had a handicap. I said, well, I've had my neck it's been locked and frozen. What do they call it? Fused. My neck has been fused. I've had shoulder surgeries twice. I've got a torn meniscus. That's pretty much a handicap.
Sound like you played professional football for a while.
And I really have done nothing. So I've had a few accidents. But so that alone, of course, takes your ability down. But I was kidding. So no, I don't have a handicap. So as pros, when we first became PGA, we were zeros.
Right.
And we would get killed by any match, crushed, because we don't shoot the 69s that would require to be scratched.
You couldn't do a net. Right? You couldn't do a match play net. There's no way.
So, and then again, there are some PGA pros, club pros. Now, I'm not talking tour pros, obviously. There's plus 8s and 9s. And I'm just talking about club pros who work for a living. They typically shoot above par. There might not be much, but it's usually above par. You got to be pretty good to get your PGA card in the first place.
Right.
But there are some that are just exceptional, and all they do is play a lot. And, you know the guys. And they win every tournament.
Right.
And our chapter, it's the same 6 guys. We're starting, I've been in the chapter so long. They're getting older, so you see some new young bloods coming in.
Exactly.
But for the Southern Cal, it's been the same 10 dozen guys every single tournament, and deservingly so.
Right.
It's not putting it down, just what it is.
Right.
But your chapter or your section started handicapping.
Mm-hmm.
So now you could go up as your 6 or whatever you are, and you're playing y'all play the same tees, I'm assuming?
No, you don't.
So seniors, so you're 50 now. You can play and still get your handicap?
Yeah, and then my handicap would be adjusted because I'm moving forward.
Because of the slope.
Yeah, because of the slope.
I got it.
So my handicap would probably go down a shot maybe one stroke.
Okay, no, I
on
understand.
average.
But now
right?
you're able. If I have a good day, I can at least cash a check.
Yeah, and
that's exciting.
Yeah, and I'm I'm a realist. I'm not going to go up to any tournament and probably even place in gross because of what you said. There are a lot of guys in the golf industry that they have much more flexible schedules. So they might be teaching professionals. So they're constantly on the range. In between students, they can work on their game. They can do different things, and then they play.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of the situation of the players in those different sections that tend to do really well. It's not usually going to be a GM,
and
it's not usually going to be a director of golf. Very rarely. And again, I'm not stereotyping.
No, it's just
but
that's what it is.
It's no different than I think it's no different than a men's club that you're going to have all different people from all different walks of life. You got some people who are in a men's club, they're retired, they play all the time. You got some guys that are in a men's club, they play on the weekend because they own a business and they're working, more than 9 to 5. But they just want to play for the social aspect, but they want to play competitively. And I don't think PGA professionals are any different than that.
I think you're 100% right. And a lot of clubs have the same club champion year after year after year on the gross without handicap because they're the best player at the club.
Right.
But now you're
we have one of those.
and deservingly so.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy.
But
he's
now
awesome.
that you have a fair handicap system, the honor of being the net champion is not you consider here's the Sandbagger Award. Good job, Charlie.
Right.
It's really a good honor. I played hard. I won. So when you have a fair system, and in the PGA, if you went and got 5 shots, and it brings your score to 68, and you beat the guy that shot 69 on his own with a 0, that's impressive, right?
Right.
So I think that's good, and I think club pros, if they want us to compete against other club pros, there should be a handicap.
Well, and I'll even extend it further than that. So we have this match play that Chase Watts put together, and he and I kind of talked about it. He brought it over. We put it together at Paso, and it has people coming in from all over the place. Well, Chase is in it. I'm in it, and it's a match play net because it's important to play with the people that are your customers. But you also want to be a realist. I mean, when they meet us, because we work in the shop, you don't even have to be a club pro. Sometimes people just think, well, that guy works in the shop, so he must be a scratch. And the reality is we're not. Very few of us are.
It was so hard to live up to. You're a pro, so you're going to watch this guy play. He's going to.
Yeah.
Took me a long time. I used to actually play pretty well for a long time, but that's changed, man.
With the handicap as a pro, you can play with the other guys from the club and be competitive, and it's enjoyable for everybody as long as, like we talked about in the beginning of the show, as long as everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing and they're actually posting the scores they play. I mean, since I've had my handicap now for the last 2 years through NCPGA, which I never had the ability to have, I've posted every score, even my 9-hole scores. Everywhere I go play, I post them because I want to know what my handicap is because I'm playing other places too. I go play Cypress.
You're 70. Your
36
hole day a couple of months or so ago, 74, 75.
I shot out of my mind.
That had to dink your handicap down a little.
And I played out of my mind. I played absolutely out of my mind. It's kind of it's like what Delaby would call I hit my peak, and I've been kind of close to those scores, but not really.
But that's awesome.
But it was cool.
It's there.
It was there.
And if you were playing in a handicap thing that day, you probably would have.
I would have won.
You would have won.
I would have placed.
Deservingly so.
Yeah.
So I remember after once we turned pro, I've been a pro forever now. But the only kind of games that you would get into that people wanted you to play because they sure expected, the pros in here, was the skin games because anybody can win. I know you do net skins. But we could play in skin games because anybody can, you make a 2 and a par 3 at some point and win some good money. And so it was nice. Hey, can we play? But even though we wouldn't have, most pros wouldn't have a chance against the really good amateur. Like I play 4 times a year right now. That's not a lot, right? So it's really not a lot, man.
No, it's not. And you take
4 times a whole year.
And the only reason I'm going to say this is because I work at Paso Golf Club, I know the club, and I've been there 7 years. So to see where it's gone, like we have something like almost 40 single-digit handicappers in our club.
That's awesome.
It's one of the strongest fields as far as like close to scratch that I've ever seen. Out of those 39 guys, there might be 12 that I could be competitive with. Like these guys, a lot of them are threes and lower.
Well,
They're like
I
threes,
saw you.
twos, ones, and pluses.
Did you just? I just saw some score thing you
Yeah,
posted.
that was-
the guys was 67,
Nick Kaiser.
65 or something. I don't know what it was. It was brilliant.
Nick Kaiser
Yeah.
shot 67-70, I think it was, or 67-69.
Did you
That's
know
gross.
on the PGA Tour, with the exception of the majors,
Yeah,
if you shot even par every round,
yeah.
you wouldn't keep your card.
That's incredible to me.
You would make a few bucks, but you wouldn't even you wouldn't be in the top 125. Now with the majors, there's some that round even par does really well.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Opens or
Yeah,
something.
exactly.
And you would catch a big check. But they're tougher. But but excluding those and all the other tournaments, they did it. You wouldn't even make enough money almost to pay for. It used to be years ago when I was playing on those events. Even par was good. You made the cut.
Right.
You're not even making a cut if you shoot even par now. It's like cuts 5 under, 7 under par. I mean, they're really good.
Well, and doing, yeah, they are.
They're really, really good players.
And in doing the research for the handicaps and all that stuff for the show, they mentioned the USGA has a formula for like tournament indexes as well. So someone who, let's say, is a +2, just playing at their local clubs and going around maybe doing club champions and stuff, not good enough to make the tour because the sampling that they've done, that guy in a tournament or gal is more like probably a 1 or a 2. It's like a 4-shot swing.
Right.
So when you have PGA Tour players, those guys are like +5s, +5.5s, +6s. And when they play in a tournament, then they're like a +3, a +2. Yeah. And that's what it takes in tournament golf to make it on the tour,
Well,
like what you were just saying.
Do you remember, and I know Darren, speaking of Darren Avery, I think he's still listening. For a while, they used to challenge, I believe, 10 handicappers to go play the Open the Monday after the U.S. Open.
Yeah, I remember that.
And they would bet they couldn't break 100.
Yeah.
And they had, and you try to qualify for that. I want to say a 10 handicapper, and Darren, you can text me if that's correct. So these guys are normally in the shooting in the 70s. And they brought them out. They have a few qualified to do this, but they couldn't break 100 on the same exact setup that they set the U.S. Open up.
Insane.
So they're shooting around par in the U.S. Open. That's usually the goal, a couple 300, whatever it is. But these 10 handicappers from their club, good players.
Yeah.
Some clubs, and they couldn't,
totally
break the 100 mark. That's how hard the golf courses are starting to get. I don't know if they still do that, but remember that they did that challenge. I think Darren applied for that, and he was like one of the finalists or something to do.
Really?
That. Yeah. So
that's actually really cool.
So
let's take our last break and good segment there. Should club pros have handicaps? I think the answer is yes. That's what I think.
I couldn't agree more. If they want,
I think it provides
competitive
more social interaction all the way around.
Yeah,
whether it's with your peers or whether it's with your customers.
If you don't do well, that's just because you're not playing up to your standard that day.
It's only a bad thing if the club pro's sandbagging, which is no different than an amateur.
But it sounds like your course has got the trick, Ben. I'm
It's hard.
Proud of you.
You got to have a whole group staying on top of it to make it all work out. So thank you to Dave Shimano with Slick Sticks for partnering with us for all these years. SlickSticks.com, your key to better golf. Clubs, grips, repairs, adjusting loft and lies. Dave Shimano and Slick Sticks are the winning combination. Give Dave a call, 805-598-9993. 805-598-9993. We'll be right back. Golf Talk Radio with Mike and Billy.